It was a surprise visit, and is often the case with President Donald Trump, a surprising announcement.
Taliban wants to make a deal, and we're meeting with them, and we're saying it has to be a ceasefire. They didn't want to do a ceasefire, but now they do want to do a ceasefire. I believe it probably work out that way.
Trump's admission they are meeting with the Taliban comes after the president abruptly broke off talks in September following the killing of a US soldier in a bombing claimed by the Taliban. Talks had been making progress up until then. The Taliban has confirmed to Al Jazeera that some meetings have been taking place to pave the way for the resumption of talks. The group also recently released 2 Western hostages and 10 Afghan soldiers in exchange for 3 of its senior leaders. But officials say there's still no sign the Taliban is ready to give up its weapons in exchange for a role in Afghan politics. Demilitarization is a key demand from Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, but he's been sidelined while US and Taliban negotiators meet. Still, Ghani joined Trump on stage at Bagram Air Base and tweeted out highlights of the moment, apparently keen to show he is relevant in the peace process. For Donald Trump, the priority is cutting down the number of US troops in Afghanistan from about 13,000 to just over 8,000, and to help the Afghans handle their own security.
We're bringing it down very substantially, and we'll be down at a number that's a good number, and we're going to stay until such time as we have a deal or we have total victory, and they want to make a deal very badly.
It's been 18 years since the US launched its war in Afghanistan, pushing the Taliban out of power. The irony not lost that almost 2 decades on, both sides are now negotiating an end to the fighting, and if a deal can be struck, it will more than likely see the Taliban return to play a part in ruling Afghanistan. Stefanie, Dekker, Al Jazeera.
Rina Shah is a Republican strategist and political analyst, and she believes the Taliban sees the Trump presidency as an opportunity to strike a deal with the US.
I think the Taliban understands that this president is a very unconventional president, and that things in Washington are not just chaotic, but often able to be rewritten. Rules that have been the norms of U.S. society are able to be written almost overnight. And that's what the Taliban, I think, expects here. I don't think that they've lost confidence that they can get somewhere with President Trump, but I think this represents a moment, frankly, this announcement by the president of reopening these talks, a moment of opportunity. And I think very much there are people who are part of the Republican establishment class here in Washington that are pretty angry, because they were pretty angry when it was announced that the president wanted to bring the Taliban members over to Camp David. So there are people here who are going to be critical of the president no matter what, and the Taliban sort of sees this as a window of entry, and they're also going to operate, I believe, under the same rules that our president does, is let's just put anything out there and see what sticks. I think it all sort of stems from the fact that this president has been genuinely uninterested in our military's operations since before he even launched his campaign. And throughout his campaign and since he took office, we've seen that he doesn't care to want to understand how certain things are really done. And he instead just wants to criticize the previous administration and says that administration wasn't able to get anything done. So leave it to a guy like me who's a business deal maker and let me try to get something done. And I think that's exactly what he's operating with right now, is this sense that people will trust him because he comes from another sector and could perhaps bring that expertise to deal making.